Now this picture right here, the Batman right here, that's me. And I want to preface this, though, it was Halloween when I was wearing that, okay? I don't get dressed up as Batman every day. I'd like to. It's kind of fun. So the little girl being held up there, this is a whole bunch of years ago. That's my daughter, who's now in Queens, Stephanie, and a couple of neighborhood kids. A few years later, I used to love to rent this Batman costume. So a few years later, I rented this Batman costume one day on Halloween and drove my kids to school in the Batman costume. Now, my daughter that day was dressed up as a fairy princess. My son was dressed up as a Ninja Turtle. So we all piled into my car, and at the time I had a black BMW, I had a Batmobile. So I had it all going on. This was kind of cool. I had the Bat costume, I had the Batmobile, we all got into the car, we drove up to the school. I thought I'd just drop my kids off. At the time we were living in the Lawrence Park area in Toronto. I was working in Markham. I thought I'd just drop them off and then I could get on the 401 and I could get up to work in relatively good time. Well, I was wrong. They pulled me in, the principal and a bunch of teachers, and said, Batman, you're in the school. Could you just cruise around with us for a while? This was better than having the firemen and the policemen here. They had a superhero in the school. So I got into the school. I went from classroom to classroom to classroom. I was there for about 2 hours. I was pretty late for work. So finally I got out, I got into the Batmobile, I got onto the 401, and I had to make up a little bit of time here. So I was speeding excessively on the 401. I got pulled over by the OPP. So here I am, I'm sitting in my Batmobile, I've got the full costume on. Behind me, the officer's pulled me over. He gets out of his cruiser, he starts walking up towards my car. I go, you know how you get the little wheels going on in your head, the bad wheels and the good wheels are going like this, and you're thinking, okay, how do I get out of this one? How do I get out of this one? So as he's walking up to my car, I'm checking out rear view mirror, side view mirror, rear view mirror, side view mirror. I'm trying to figure this one out. He gets up to the side of the car. I pop down the window. He looks in and he goes, Batman. Where are you going? And I looked at him and I said, Gotham City. I thought that was pretty funny. He didn't. He didn't. So he said, you were speeding quite excessively, and I'm going to have to give you a pretty big ticket there, Batman. And I said, okay, well, can I just explain a little bit of what I was doing and where I was? And he said, yeah, this should be a pretty good story. So we started talking, and I said I had 2 young kids, and he looked at me and he said, well, I've got 2 young kids. Common ground. We started talking about our kids. He looked in and he said, you know, that's a pretty cool story. I'm going to let you go, but before you go, you got to take off the mask. I looked at him and I said, sorry, I can't reveal my true identity. Again, you know what? I thought that was pretty funny. He didn't. He didn't. So he let me go. I drove up to my office in Markham. I was working for a pretty big company at that point in time, about 700 people. Usually I park fairly close to the building, but I wanted to make a cool entrance into the building. So I did. Security didn't stop me. Security should have stopped me. They usually do. If you want to get through security, get dressed up as Batman or Batwoman and just walk right through. It works on Halloween. Anyways, lets me into the building. Rather than going to my office right away, I cruised around the building for a little while, and I messed with people. Because it was cool. They didn't know who I was. I knew who they were. I was still in my full Batman costume. So I did that. That night I went out trick-or-treating with my kids. Big hit in the neighborhood. Very cool evening. At the end of the night, I wish I had got this picture, got up on the roof of the house, full moon, and did one of these with the Batman costume. So that was kind of cool. I mean, this Batman costume, 7-foot wingspan, it had the cool muscular vest, utility belt, pretty cool stuff. I'm actually looking for a new Batman costume. If anybody has a line on one, I'm looking for a good Batman costume, okay? So why do I tell this story? I tell it for a few reasons. First of all, don't take yourself too seriously. Do not take yourself too seriously, because most people aren't taking you as seriously as you're taking yourself. Important in business, important in life. Take what you do seriously. Take what you do seriously, just don't take yourself too seriously.